Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from the Ocean, Phanerozoic 2, out September 25th on Metal Blade Records. The album has 8 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's 8th full-length studio album. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody. This is a concept album that picks up where the previous record left off, and it takes you on a journey of learning and perhaps a little bit of self-awareness as well. Now, I took 2 days to listen to this record top to bottom because I really feel like this is a record that you can't just consume. You have to really savor it, and you have to do so in the manner in which it was created, which is starting listening to the first song and you work your way down to the last song on the album. After 2 days, I feel like I can't even scratch the surface as far as this album is concerned. As I was preparing for this review, I just felt that if I do this review every 2 weeks, or every month or every year, I'm going to say something different because I'm going to discover something different about the album and about the songs. That is how much they packed onto this record. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, the album is super eclectic because eclectic is a word that is not enough to describe what this album has in store for the listener. I'm going with super eclectic as far as sound, structure, and overall approach. Even a little bit chaotic at times, specifically in the structure. I felt that it was controlled chaos. Because this album is a journey, is a concept record, so there is a path there is a road there. I just felt as a listener, I was not always sure where exactly I was going. It was almost like I was going on a road trip with no GPS and no destination in mind. I'm just traveling. And where I end up is not necessarily important, it's the path that I'm taking to get there that it is. In this album, from a structural perspective, it totally feels that way. There's not a linear approach at all. This album is not linear across any of the elements, more so in the structure. So it's controlled chaos with a path, but not a defined path. Musically, the album is also very eclectic. Like I said, it's eclectic across all different elements of the album. They throw everything at you and they're not afraid of mixing and matching different styles, different approaches, different instruments, different sounds, different ideas. And that is exactly what this album is from top to bottom. A mix and match of different thoughts, of different ways of creating music, and of different genres and different elements from those genres. You get, there's obviously a lot of prog on this album, but also a lot of classic, a lot of symphonic, death metal. There's a little bit of everything from almost every single genre included here, and nothing feels out of place from a sound perspective. They did a wonderful job creating an album where there's no two songs alike, not even remotely alike, and within the tracks themselves, the volatility is such that most of the times you almost feel like you're listening to a conglomerate of different songs that have been melted into a pot in order to create one single track. That is the dynamic mechanisms that they introduced to this record on the musical side. The songs are super dynamic, giving you up and down roller coaster ride of a feel within the tracks themselves, obviously within the overall structure of the record, and just really going anywhere they want to go. This is a very organic album, a very experimental album, perhaps the most outside the box experimental album that this band has ever done. I really feel that way about the album, and I really felt that way the moment I started listening to it, because it took me a long time to just center myself and be able to at least focus or try to focus on what was happening, because there's so many things coming at you musically, structurally, that it's very hard for the listener to just stay concentrated on one point. And that creates a different way of consuming this record, a different way of processing the music on this album, because it just goes everywhere. It's just all over the place, and you're trying to make sense out of all of these different moving pieces that are coming at you at different times, with different tones, with different deliveries, with different approaches. And once again, there's no two songs alike, so there's no way of you knowing what the next song brings. And when you're within the song, is no way of knowing what the next verse is going to bring, because the songs themselves are also very volatile. But I love that volatility in the music. I love that organic aspect that this album has, because it's not overbearing. It really feels organic from that perspective. It just felt like they wanted to create the best album that they could and not put any boundaries within that creativity and within that creative process of the band. And that is really represented well musically on this record. Now, vocally, it's the same. Very wide range, and to me, that was extremely necessary. If you have an album that is this eclectic, that is this volatile, this chaotic, from a structural perspective to sound, the vocals cannot be any different. You cannot have one size fits all vocal approach from the first song to the last song. It would just not go well with all the other changes that are happening. You have to change with everything else that's changing around you. This is an album that represents life on this planet and the diversity of life on this planet. So if you're going to have a diverse structure, if you're going to have a diverse sound, you have to have a diverse vocal approach. So that's exactly what you're going to get from this record. You're going to get everything: clean vocals, harsh vocals, more electronic sounding vocals, almost like narrator style vocals, spoken word vocal. There's a lot of things that they did, different layers to the vocals, so they come at you almost feeling like an echo chamber. There's just so many things that they did from a vocal perspective in order to create this album that I really applaud them for that, for taking that absolute chaotic approach even on the vocals and just try different things to go best with each and every single song in terms not only of what the message of the song was and the lyrical impact of the track, but also the music that is built around that song and what it's trying to do. You have to go with what fits the song best and not work the song into the way you want the vocals to sound. It has to be the other way around. The vocals have to complement the music, and I felt that they did that across all 8 tracks on this record. Overall, this is a magnificent, magnificent record. And like I said, a record that 50 years from now, 20, 30, whatever the time is, I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to discover something new, because I just feel in my bones that even after listening to it so many times, I still can't even scratch the surface of this record. There's just so much more there to learn, to listen, to really embrace as you go through all the tracks. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is an incredible album that felt very organic from the beginning in the way it's constructed, the way it sounds, the way it comes across, almost like these guys didn't study for the test and still got 100% on it. That's how the album feels. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Triassic, opening track, very somber and dark atmosphere on this track. Great bass on this song. I absolutely love the bass on this track. It's very predominant, it's very noticeable, and it plays a very important role in the overall sound that this track has. The clean vocals with layers on it are a winning formula. I really like that. They don't necessarily make the song heavier, but it definitely adds a little bit more volume and a little bit more presence in terms of how the track comes across. Adding the more robotic feel to the vocals, it was also interesting because it added almost a little bit of a sci-fi aroma, if you will, into how this song is put together and how this song is created. And I like that aspect because it plays well with the overall style and vibe that the track has. When the song turns heavy, it really feels like you're getting blasted out into space, and then the robotic sci-fi feel to it, it almost has a little bit of that space vibe into the way the song is put together and into the way the song sounds. The harsh vocals that come onto this track become the perfect outlet, because this is a song that sometimes you feel like it needs a jolt of heaviness. It needs electricity flowing through it. And because it's so dark and it has this very somber moments, when that heaviness comes across, both musically and vocally, you just really feel like you were awakened to life. It has that aspect to it. You're coming out of that dark slumber, and I love that motion, that intensity that it brings to the track. Now, there is a little bit of a somber piece to the song that has this Dick Dale style guitar melody. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dick Dale, the king of the surf guitar. I thought that melody was just outstanding. It changed the track, it changed the mood. It still had a little bit of a sci-fi built into it, but overall, what a great melody, what a great guitar melody, and I absolutely love it. It's the perfect opening track for this album because it really gives you a glimpse, musically and vocally, of everything, or at least almost everything that you're gonna get throughout this record. Next, Paleocene, heavy track, both musically and vocally. I believe that this is one of the songs that stays the most consistent from beginning to end. It has dark heaviness to it, and I wouldn't say the song is just heavy, because there is a dark embrace to the track, so there's some dark heaviness to the way the song sounds. The vocals push more of that darkness and that heaviness forward. They really increase the awareness that you will have as a listener of that heaviness and that darkness that the song has. At the midway point, the track drops a little bit, becomes a little bit more atmospheric, but it becomes almost a wasteland of atmosphere because it feels like all the air has been sucked out of the balloon during that specific portion of the track. And then it returns to the darkness, it returns to the heaviness, it returns to a more consistent approach, going back to the way the song started, finishing off the same way, coming full circle. But overall, when you look at the overall picture of this track, it's definitely the one that's more consistent from top to bottom, that doesn't offer you as much variety and as many dynamic changes as all the other tracks on the album do. Last but not least, Eocene, very melodic track, having almost a reggae undertone. I wouldn't go as far as to say that it sounds reggae, but there's definitely a little bit of a ska reggae undertone in the melody that this song has, and in the atmosphere that it creates and where it transports you as the listener. Great clean vocals on this song, outstanding clean vocals on this song. It really gains presence. It's a song that gains momentum, and it gains a lot of heaviness after the second half of the track. But that heaviness quickly fades away, and it goes back to this closure, to this end, not abrupt, but it kind of fades out into oblivion, matching a little bit of the melody and the overall atmosphere that the track had in the beginning. I love this track, I love the construction, but the vocals on this song are just outstanding. This is it, The Ocean with Phanerozoic 2, out September 25th on Metal Blade Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Use the comment section below to talk about the singles, your favorite songs, anything you want to talk about this band or this album. I'll be reading them and getting back to you. Take care, guys.